Let's speak now to the brilliant Isabel Oakeshott. Now, let's start off with what Nigel says was the appalling interview with the Today programme this morning, because that was your partner, Richard Tice. Tell me more about it.
Well, what happened on the Today programme was that a presenter that Nigel rather disparagingly referred to as, I think he said something like one of your lower grade presenters, BBC presenters, Emma Barnett. I wouldn't necessarily use those words myself, but anyway, that set the tone for what he was about to say. Introduced a line of questioning to Reform's deputy leader, which began with referring to Nigel Farage's relationship with Hitler. I mean, it was an extraordinary interview by Emma Barnett, in which I really felt personally that she showed a great deal of bias against Reform, and I thought it was, I mean, frankly outrageous. This was all about, the interview was supposed to be about the summary cancellation or postponement of mayoral elections. That is what Richard Tice went on to talk about. Instead, he got hijacked about this completely ludicrous story, or so-called story, based on half-baked allegations of conversations or exchanges that may or may not have taken place in a school playground 50 years ago. I mean, honestly, even saying it honestly just sounds ridiculous, doesn't it?
Because it is.
It's completely ridiculous.
Do you know, I remember there being an interview for the Political Thinking podcast, Nick Robinson, who I'm actually a big fan of in many respects. I think he's a great storyteller and a veteran journalist. We've actually got the clip. Brilliant. Let's play it instead. Oh, hold on. We've got it.
And then we don't.
Oh, sorry. Here we go. Here we go.
I do think he has all the features of a fascist politician, and I think it's important that we stop a fascist Reform government.
Fascist?
When someone attacks trade union rights, when they are not supportive of minority communities, where they are trying to get us out of the ECHR so they can get away with anything and there is no state accountability, we can see what's happening across Europe, and that is a descent into fascism.
You're comparing Nigel Farage with Franco, with Mussolini, arguably with Adolf Hitler. Really?
I have legitimate concerns about what a Nigel Farage government would do to trade unionists, to working class communities, to minority communities, to LGBT people. And what I've seen in government is Nigel Farage and his colleagues, like I said, vote against trade union rights, vote against anything that would actually help our working class communities. So yes, he's a danger.
I mean, could you imagine, Isabel, Nigel Farage doing an interview with Nick Robinson where he says about Zara Sultana, I have deep concerns that she might be an Islamist. I have deep concerns that she is religiously motivated and that she poses a threat to this country. I have deep concerns that she is so far left that I think that she's akin to Mao or Stalin. And the BBC sticking that up online like that's normal, just going, really? Really? Tell me more. I mean, there really is a lack of a level playing field when it comes to how the BBC salivate over reporting anything about Nigel Farage that is monstrous, that is personal, that is a besmirchment, whether it's based on tittle-tattle or someone else's opinion about him, never any empirical prima facie evidence. And yet when we've got that sort of stuff against other political figures, they're silent. They don't do it. Oh, it's not newsworthy. Oh, we're not sure we can actually put that up online. It is. I mean, look, anybody with eyes and ears can see that, unfortunately, the scales are definitely not balanced.
Well, Reform has analysed the media coverage of issues around Reform councillors and has found that it is grossly disproportionate to the coverage of problems with councillors in other parties. Lots of councillors in other parties have had to resign or been sacked or stepped away, and no one ever hears about it. But because it's Reform, everybody piles in. Look, I've got news for these people, these shrieking lefties who can't, they reach for their propaganda toolbox, and the only thing that they can ever find in it, it seems, is fascist, racist, Hitler. I mean, it's beyond juvenile, isn't it? And here's what, guys, it's not going to work. It's not credible. Reform is not run by racists or fascists. It isn't full of people who have those views. On the contrary, it reflects the quite legitimate concerns and good values of millions of people in the UK, and simply banging on and on and on and on in an ever more desperate attempt to paint the people at the top in this revolting way is going to do nothing other than actually solidify, in my view, Reform's votes.
Well, this is the thing. If they thought that they were going to scare away donors, guess what? They haven't. Christopher Harborne has given Reform a record-breaking £9 million. I think that's beaten any previous independent donor to any political party. But the problem is, of course, and, you know, more should have been made of this. I'm looking at all the news screens in front of me here, and what I'm not seeing is uproar about the fact that this government have yet again cancelled elections. The brilliant Kieran has done the research for me. Elections for becoming mayor in Hampshire and the Solents, Greater Essex, Norfolk and Suffolk, Sussex and Brighton, every single one of them would have been won by Reform. Coincidence?
Well, I don't think so. I don't imagine that anyone else is deceived by this. I mean, to say that they haven't had time to get themselves organised, well, what, you need another 2 years? I mean, maybe give yourselves an extra month or something, but this is farcical. But actually, it's worse than farcical. It's really, really sinister. And I happen to fear that this is the tip of the iceberg of the dark arts that they will attempt to deploy in order to keep Reform out of positions of power. And you know what? It's absolutely possible that they will go to such lengths, never before heard of lengths, in terms of manipulation of our constitution, of our democratic process. It is entirely possible that they will succeed. But I am sure that Reform and the millions of people that support it will fight every step of the way to make sure that that can't and won't happen.
Oh, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, you know, they've changed the plebiscite already, lowered the voting age to 16, delaying elections taking place. No doubt they're going to extend the franchise to foreigners who otherwise before weren't allowed to vote. They will accuse Nigel of breaking laws, much like the establishment are doing against Marine Le Pen, accused her of lawfare. There'll be the demonisation of both him, the party, and its supporters, as they did to Maloney, as they tried to do with Donald Trump, as all of these celebs and unions and NGOs and activist organisations all getting together, peace and love. We just want a world that's not like theirs. Who's funding you? Who's organising you? This is interference in elections. Anyway, talking about elections, we do have to play the clip of the local government minister explaining why the elections are being delayed.
Local elections, council elections will go ahead in 2026. That has been our position. That continues to be our position. Now, as a responsible government, you would expect that if there are extenuating circumstances on the ground in particular councils, we will have that conversation with them. But we are as up for elections as anyone else. What, Mr. Speaker, this is about is our commitment to devolution. It is about the creation of strategic authorities and mayors who can unlock the economic potential of their areas and deliver for their communities. That will always be our guiding star. That will always be our lodestar in every decision we make around devolution. So I am pleased to confirm the long-term funding offer to 6 areas in the devolution priority programme. Once mayors are in post, the 6 mayoral strategic authorities will receive close to 200 million collectively per year for the next 30 years for their investment fund. This way, we ensure our mayors, our strategic authorities have the strong foundation in order to unlock the growth potential that we can see in every part of the country.
Yeah, well, it sounds good, doesn't it?
No, it didn't sound good at all. I thought it was a load of old waffle. I was so bored hearing it, I started looking at my phone, and I'm sure that would have been the response of most of the nation. I know we had to play it, but what on earth did any of that mean?
Oh, what it meant was what they say whenever they're doing something that's wicked and wrong and against the public interest and should be considered an act of national self-sabotage, is they will say, it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. If anyone says that again, I'm going to lob something at a screen. I am fed up with being proselytised to, lectured to, by people who, if any other political party anywhere in the world was doing half the stuff that they were doing, there'd be other nations deeply concerned, considering ostracising us on the international stage, putting sanctions against us. In fact, thank goodness some people are worried about us. Americans so worried about us, it's asked all of its diplomats to gather evidence and send it back to the White House about quite how bad things here are in the UK.
Well, they really are bad. And I'll tell you what the right thing to do is. It is to rise up against all of this. And for all of us, in our own ways, whatever that may be, to do everything in our power to get rid of this awful lot. And we've got a long time to go, but then huge challenges need huge levels of preparation. And there are so many different ways people can get involved, whatever whoever they want to vote for. This isn't some kind of, Reform Party political broadcast. It could be any other party that you think will do a better job. But together we cannot tolerate this. I mean, this is just off the dial, isn't it? It's worse than anything any of us ever imagined on so many different measures. So we mustn't give up. We just have to do what we can to put this lot under ever more pressure and try to reverse some of their worst crimes. And in the meantime, position ourselves as best we can to come up with something new.
I love that. I love the fact you're saying we've got to get together to sort of fight back against the evils and the dangers of the Labour Party. You need to get on the blower to right-wing celebrities if they exist and sort of, go up. We can have like a Mad Max fight against Lenny Henry and Paloma Faith. Yeah, let's do it.
You're the right-wing. You're the right-wing celebrity.
Oh, well, do you know what? We are growing in number, aren't we? There's more and more of us, sort of, some of us have been there from the beginning, but we are growing in number. And eventually, someone will break out of the ranks of the sort of A-list celebville and dare to put their head above the parapet. I believe it can happen. Finally, before I let you go, I want to talk about this story. I've had a message from Dale from Staining, who has said, I'm so annoyed by the decision over the cadet camp in Crowborough. I'm an ex-cadet, having spent many a weekend training there, and it was amazing. The memories built and treasured. I'm sad for the young cadets who are no longer experience that, and I'm shocked that we're prioritising housing these migrants rather than sending them back to where they came from. Well, this is the other thing, isn't it? The teenage cadets have been kicked out of that camp. 600 undocumented men who have broken into the country from Lord knows where, paid some pretty unscrupulous people traffickers in the process, know full well that when they're doing this, they're giving sums of money to terrorist organisations, to black market operators who peddle drugs internationally, to people who harvest organs, sell women into sexual slavery. The fact that we're not doing something about this is not just an act of national sabotage, because we know that hostile states are using the migrant crisis as an act of grey zone warfare. Don't you worry, smash the gangs, Keir will let you get on with it. It's not only that, but the more that we enable this stuff to happen, we are complicit in some of the most demonic and wicked crimes against human beings on the planet. It means we are complicit in people harvesting organs, selling women as sex slaves, selling other women on the black market, on the dark web, to become domestic slaves, that we are fueling drugs trades, arms trades, terrorism, that actually it isn't just good old refugees getting on boats and valiantly fighting their way into Britain. No. Anybody who is not prepared to stand up, call this a national crisis and stop it tomorrow, as far as I'm concerned, is totally complicit in people trafficking.
Absolutely, all those things. And, the Channel migrant crisis is so much more serious than I think most people have understood. It is so dangerous what is going on. And yet, in the name of #BeKind, we are continuing to allow this. And as you say, in the process, propping up the most and fueling the most terrifying criminal activity of a huge range, both in other parts of the world and coming to our country. It is utter insanity. And the people that continue to apologise for the Channel crossings, but say, oh, there's nothing we can really do about it. And you know what? Those poor people, those poor enterprising or frightened souls coming over have no legal routes to come by. There's no other way they could get here. All those people are part of the problem, a mega part of the problem.
Oh, yeah, and they're actively enabling the UK taxpayer to essentially directly deposit money into the immigration industrial complex. And that money is going to terrorist organisations. That money is going to arms dealers. That money is going into drugs cartels. That money is going to really dodgy lawyers making a packet, unscrupulous hotel owners who are also making vast sums of money, dodgy companies who act as the go-betweens between the likes of Serco and individual landlords, pocketing vast amounts of money. It is a sickening trade now, and if we wanted to stop it, we could. The West African fleet lost over thousands of lives, stopping slaving vessels in the middle of the Atlantic, carrying poor doomed souls to a horrific fate. If we could do that back then and end slavery then, if we wanted to, we could intercept and stop an equally wicked crime taking place today, because a vast number of these people coming over are either wrong-uns, and if they're not wrong-uns, they are essentially enslaved. And I've lost my patience with all the excuses. I've lost my patience with it. It's got to stop. Isabel, thank you. I love having you.
As this discussion comes to a close, one thing is unmistakably clear: trust in our institutions is being stretched thinner than ever. From media bias to cancelled elections, from inconsistent political scrutiny to a migrant crisis spiraling beyond control, every issue raised here speaks to a widening gap between the public and those meant to represent them. What we're seeing isn't just incompetence, it's a pattern of decisions that weaken transparency, distort democratic processes, and push ordinary people to the sidelines. Yet despite all this, the conversation shows something else too: a growing willingness among the public to speak up, push back, and demand accountability. Whether it's about elections, immigration, media standards, or the moral direction of the country, millions are beginning to question what's really going on and who is benefiting from the chaos. In moments like these, the future depends not on politicians or broadcasters, but on people paying attention, asking hard questions, and refusing to be silenced. And that brings us to the final question. Backhand index pointing right: do you think the UK's democratic system is being protected or slowly undermined? If you found this analysis useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so you never miss our next political update.